Hi, welcome to another episode of Note Comparison. Today I got two Orientals that the main note we're looking at in comparison is amber. I'll start off with Dior Mitzah. Dior Mitzah is from 2010, released in 2010, Francois Dimasche. It's classified on Fragrantica as an Oriental spicy. I really prefer to get notes from the actual fragrance house site if I can. I couldn't find a list of the notes on Dior's site, so for this particular list, I did get it from Fragrantica. I also looked at base notes list. There's some differences between the two. So Fragrantica calls Dior Mitzah an Oriental spicy. The other one we have here is Masque Milano's Tango, released in 2013 from Cécile Zarokian. You might remember from the first episode, she was also the perfumer behind Nishane's Ani. So I actually have the bottle with this one to give you an idea of the presentation. It has this little foam stand. Masque Milano makes beautiful bottles, presentation, very ornate, very Italian. It's got the name of the fragrance as well as the name of the perfumer on this metal engraving. I like that. It's nice. Beautiful color to this fragrance. Heavy top. So this is 100 ml. I don't see that Masque Milano is carrying the 100 mls anymore. It looks like they're sticking to their 35 ml bottles, which honestly, I think the 35 ml bottles are more beautiful in comparison. But this is what I have, the 100 ml. So the notes being shared from what I'm finding between these two fragrances, which I want to preface and say these fragrances do not smell alike. They're both Orientals with amber, and the amber is prominent in both of them, but these fragrances go in different directions. They don't smell alike, but they can be compared. So Masque Milano has cardamom, patchouli, amber, and vanilla, as does Mitzah. So cardamom, patchouli, amber, vanilla. Those are four notes that these two share. Okay, so I've got the dry down of both of these fragrances on right now. And they're so different. They both have spices. I mean, Tango even has cumin in it and black pepper. But I feel like I would get more spice to it than what I'm actually getting. Whereas Mitzah, there's constantly a spiciness about it. For my nose, when I take two fragrances that are so different but so alike at the same time, it helps with me not isolating the notes, but recognizing what notes are contributing. A lot of times, if I'm trying to isolate a specific note, and I'm really trying to just smell it as a whole, I'll have trouble doing that. Picking up what it's lending to the fragrance, the aspect of what it lends to the fragrance, I find works better. in some cases. In this case, it does, because these share enough and contrast enough that, for instance, with Mitzah, smelling the amber from Tango and then smelling Mitzah in the amber and then recognizing the cinnamon in Mitzah, I was able to recognize the cinnamon. I knew it was there before, but I was able to identify it better when I was comparing it against Tango. And then in contrast, or in comparison, Mitzah helped me be able to take Tango and recognize the rose as it is inside of Tango. So they both share rose, actually. Failed to mention that. In Mitzah, I don't get the rose at all. In Tango, I get a dance of the amber and the rose constantly. It's interesting. This is something previously I had mentioned on the coffee episode for the coffee notes. I just didn't understand putting rose with those scents. It's not that it was bad. The rose was good in those scents, in the two that had it, but for my preference, the Acro Awake I preferred without the rose. This is a fragrance where I really enjoy the rose in this. It cradles the amber and it gives an effect to the amber that prevents it from getting too, how would you say it? The amber gets deep here, but it doesn't get too deep where it easily could, because there's something peculiar about this fragrance, but in a good way. And the rose kind of cradles the amber and prevents it from getting too much in that direction. We're going to experience the opening on both of these. Let's go for Mitzah first. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but this decant I have of Mitzah is 2012, I believe. Okay. Good spray. There's a freshness to the opening when you first spray this, but that quickly changes. It's curious what lends that freshness. So many people say they get a lot of incense from Dior Mitzah. A fragrance that I almost brought into this comparison, but I didn't, because I wanted to try to focus just on two fragrances, especially when they have this many notes involved in these fragrances. I mean, I kind of get the incense, but Sauv's Contra Bombard 32 has some similarities in notes to Mitzah, but much more so in the opening of that I get incense. And with Mitzah, there's other things I get before that. I'll say neither of these, I feel, are ones that, these are two fragrances that perfume lovers are going to enjoy. If you're someone that loves fragrances, but for the reason of you love fragrances to wear when you're going out. These aren't accessible in that way, I think. They're accessible to someone that really loves fragrances, but for someone that's reaching for fragrances just for the purpose of going out and wanting to smell great going out, they're probably not going to sing the tune that that person wants to hear, is my thought. I get the amber, I get the cinnamon, I get the honey. The honey's not too loud and I like that. I get the vanilla. The patchouli I'm not getting too much. This is a quality fragrance. It's nice. Okay, check out the spray on this. It's a little different. Okay. You see that? It has this like slow, thick spray. That's a gorgeous opening. And I did spray over the dry down, yes, for both of these fragrances. I did it on purpose. Wow. You get a flash of the bergamot in the opening. I don't really get the black pepper. And I'm not really picking out the cardamom on either right away. It's supposed to have jasmine absolute as well. It uses rose oil, cumin for tango. There's something that gives this a little bit of a, as I said, a peculiar smell, almost a, I don't know how to describe it. Like someone that travels and wanders, has no home. That's the type of scent I could imagine that type of person wearing. I mean that in a good sense. Wow, these are both just fantastic fragrances. They're so fun to study. Beautiful. The rose is really starting to amp up, and it's not rose that is so pronounced as it is in most rose fragrances. There should be an upcoming very soon rose fragrance comparison, by the way. It just does the perfect role in this fragrance. It's just dancing with the amber. But it never makes itself too pronounced. I'm glad I went full bottle on this one. So for Grantica, it says for both of these, it says for Tango Oriental Floral, which sounds a little weird because even though you get the rose dancing with the amber in this, you don't think floral when you smell this. Oriental Floral, I think it suits it. It works. But there's such a richness to this scented as well. I mean, look at it. There's such a a richness to this scent. It's decadent. Is the word I'm looking for. They both have some sweetness, but they're not fragrances that are like honey, honey, honey sweet. And then Mitzah just, it has spice with the amber the whole way through. During the dry down in the middle, you get more of the vanilla, which oddly enough, I don't get the vanilla so much in the Tango, even though it's listed vanilla bean and tonka bean. Longevity, they both have fantastic longevity. Projection wise, I think at the opening they're pretty equal. Mitzah, I think later into the fragrance is still radiating with its spice, whereas Tango, I think you have to get a little bit closer to smell. Wow, these are both great, great fragrances. If you are a true perfume lover, and like I said, you're not just looking for a scent to wear out, try to get a sample or get what you can of either of these fragrances and experience them. See what you get from them. Study them. It's good. Very good. That's what we got for this episode. Thanks for your time. Until next time.